All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory to
Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakodash.
Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing and many salutations to you elect across the four winds of this earth, pushing this word in sincerity and in truth. And shalom to believers that are out there that believe in the words of our testimony. All right, this is going to be another class, another GMS Dallas class. Okay, and today the topic is going to be 2nd Ezra, the 11th chapter. Okay, and it's quite a big chapter. Okay, but it's key prophecies that are written of, nailing the book of Daniel. When you read about that fourth beast, okay, matter of fact, that we can hold Daniel 7 and 7, going into that fourth beast. And when you read 2nd Ezra, the 11th chapter, it quantifies that fourth beast. Daniel had received visions of the first beast all the way to the fourth, but it wasn't all the way expounded to Daniel when that vision was given unto him. Okay, but it was expounded unto Ezra for prophecy's sake. Okay, and when you look at America, when you read about 2nd Ezra 11, it's talking about ancient Rome, and namely the 12 Caesars, the main Caesars that ruled in ancient Rome. When you read about it in 2nd Ezra 11, all right. And America tries to reenact it, or they do, but when you read it in 2nd Ezra 11, that has nothing to do with America. That's talking about the 12 Caesars that ruled in ancient Rome. Okay, and we're gonna go into that, and we can start off with that Daniel 7. Whoever has it.
Daniel 7:7. After this, I saw in the night vision, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible.
The reason why it says dreadful and terrible, because when those Romans came into power, man, they did works far beyond those other nations that preceded them. Okay? And they also put a lot of hell on the children of Israel. Like under that rule, that's when the Israelites had to scatter into Africa. And those were the Israelites that weren't captured and taken and thrown into the Colosseums and slaughtered and such. Okay, so those Romans did a lot of works, not even just to Israel, but on the planet Earth, the known world around that time. Okay, I believe iron weaponry, all right, was more so introduced through those Romans. All right, go ahead.
Dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had a great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the foot of it. Great
iron teeth. You see, so when they started using that weaponry, all right, there was a lot of people that had difficulties fighting against it. And even we're going to go into it in 2nd Ezra 11, but it talks about how they had all the nations in subject and under check under them. Okay, when they came in power, them nations, the ones that tried to rise up, they failed miserably. Okay, because the Most High had used them as a major pivotal piece in prophecy.
Well, they were blessed with the sword, too.
That's right. That's right. That's it. Yeah. That's it.
If I want to add, iron is stronger than brass.
Right.
Brass or bronze.
Right. Absolutely.
Physically. So on a spiritual note, the empire that came latter with the empire that's in power at that particular time was dealing with more technology and was given the technology from Yahushai.
That's right. That's right, brother. The sword. They was given a great sword. Okay.
I want to make a quick point just to lead into this idea. Whenever we look into Romans, the 11th chapter, at the top is going into the beginnings of what's known as Pax Romana. For those people, 2nd Ezra, the 11th chapter, Salah, the water. 2nd Ezra, the 11th chapter is going into the beginning of Pax Romana and the list of the Caesars. Now, for y'all listening to the class, go look up Pax Romana, PAXRMOANA, and it'll give you a brief history. This was when Yahushua came on the scene as far as his preaching, and this is when Rome was like the obvious empire of the day. And I was going to read a little bit about Pax Romana, and that'll kind of lead you into 2nd Ezra.
Come.
Right. So this is Pax Romana on Wikipedia. It says Pax Romana Latin for Roman peace, is a roughly 200-year-long period in Roman history, which is identified with increased and sustained inner hegemonial peace and stability, though not meaning without wars, expansion, and revolts. It says it is traditionally dated as commencing from the ascension of Caesar Augustus, founder of the Roman Principate, in 27 BC and concluding in 180 AD with the death of Marcus Aurelius. And we always talk about the downfall at 183, with Septimius Severus, everything like that. It says the last of the 5 good emperors, since it was inaugurated. That word inaugurated is another term that was taken from Rome that the U.S. presidents today use, inauguration, right? And that goes back to the Augurenes, the soothsayers that used to sit in the seat of council for the Caesars. All right, and so that's where you get inauguration. It's all about witchcraft and studying birds.
That's how Rome was named, Romulus and Remus. They forecast who was going to be at the seat of power.
That's right.
Basically, the Augurenes.
That's exactly right. And so what happened was you had the mythology behind it is that Romulus and Remus brothers,
right,
who were born of a she-wolf, right?
Right.
They had a battle, and basically the Augurenes, they would watch the bird flights, and the birds landed on Romulus,
right,
saying that he was supposed to be the rightful successor or the beginning emperor, what became known as the Roman Empire. Okay, so that's where you get the term. He was inaugurated.
Wow.
Romulus was inaugurated, right?
Interesting.
So it says it was inaugurated by Augustus with the end of the final war of the Roman Republic. It is sometimes called the Pax Augustus. During this period of approximately 2 centuries, the Roman Empire achieved its greatest territorial extent, and its population reached a maximum of up to 70 million people. It says, according to Cassius Dio, the dictatorial reign of Commodus, later followed by the year of the 5 emperors and the crisis of the 3rd century, marked the descent from the kingdom of gold to one of iron and rust. Right? Which goes into the Daniel.
Absolutely.
Perfect,
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, Pax Romana, you can type that in and basically read that on Wikipedia and give yourself an even better understanding of the magnitude of the Roman Empire and its influence at that time.
Right.
Con. Man, beautiful. Man. With that being said, let's go on and start 2nd Ezra 11.
This is 2nd Esdras chapter 11, verse 1. It says, Then saw I a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle, which had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads.
And when you go into that, all right, that's going into that eagle ultimately represents Rome. Okay? And it's very spiritual that links up to Mystery Babylon right now. It links up to Esau.
Esau, right.
All right? Shows you that when you read it in Deuteronomy 28, when it says we were going to be shipped off into a land like as swift as an eagle, shows you that it's going to be very similar or a reflection of Rome. Okay? And those 12 feathers are talking about 12 pivotal emperors that ruled. Okay? And when you go into those 12 feathers, the first one starts with Julius Caesar, which a lot of historians aren't really gonna relate him as being a Caesar. All right, more so an emperor, just because his last name was actually Caesar. When you go into that title of Caesar, it goes into his actual last name. That's where the title czars get. You get the Russian czars, those rulers, and you also have Kaiser, like Kaiser Wilhelm. All right, those Germanic rulers went by that title of Kaiser. It goes back to Caesar. So when you go into these 12 feathers, you got the first one being Julius Caesar. The second one, which a lot of scholars are going to acknowledge to being the first technical Caesar, really it was the second. All right, but it goes into Augustus Caesar. All right, and Augustus Caesar ruled between years 27 BC to 14 AD. All right, and he was actually in the power seat when Yahushua was born. When you read it in Luke, the 1st chapter, it goes into how Caesar Augusta, he was the king around that time, loosely paraphrasing. And we'll pull it up here in a little bit. The third was Tiberius, who ruled 14 AD to 37 AD. The fourth, Caligula.
Mm-hmm. Tiberius is when you read about him during the time of Acts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Caligula was 37 AD to 41 AD. Claudius Caesar was 41 AD to 51 AD. Then you have Nero, which is a very popular name, all right, that we bring up very often. All right. You know, he's the one that looks like Donald Trump a whole lot. All right. Acted like him too. 54 AD. You said what, Michael?
I say this.
Yeah.
Claudius was during the time of Acts too.
Yeah.
Because during the time of Acts, there was a famine going on, and that's why they had to. That's why with the whole idea with Safari and Ananias was a big deal because there was a famine going on at the time.
Yeah, but I remember Mike Oliver did a lesson on that. It was a good lesson too, highlighting like the tension that was going on at that time, of why it was so important for everybody to bring what they had, and like when you look at the dearth, because I think that's what it talked about in the scripture.
Exactly what it said.
It says that there's a dearth,
Yep.
and so when you break it down and looked at what was happening geoeconomically. It was like, oh man, the Most High was dealing,
Straight
the
up.
whole ass niggas allowed.
Yeah, straight up.
That's why Paul was dealing with Corinthians as well around that time, because they was being selfish.
Beautiful. And you had Nero, all right, and he was in charge when you hear of the whole burning of Rome. All right, it was really orchestrated by Nero. He was the mastermind behind Rome being burnt and blaming it on us. Okay. Then you have what was called the Year of the Four Emperors, and Brother Ariala. I believe you just read about that just a little. The Year of the you said the 5 good emperors. Okay. Then you have also what's called the Year of the Four Emperors. It was 4 emperors that ruled in literally 1 year, which shows you the Most High was hauling them, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They was killing each other.
Yep.
Yup, they was being demons. Matter of fact, real quick, Revelation, the 6th chapter.
That was Ortho, Goblin.
It was Galba. Yeah, Galba was.
So what's the order of it?
It was Galba that was first, and then it was Ortho afterward, and then it was Vitellius, and then that's when Vespasian came in power afterwards.
Right. Flavian dynasty began. Yeah.
Absolutely, and Vespasian was also a key general that was under Nero when that whole burning of Jerusalem had taken place as well. Okay. And Vespasian was also reincarnation of Julius Caesar, and it goes in. Apostle Har mentioned that when you listen to the breakdown that he did going into that. Okay, and it's going to play a huge role into what we're going to continue to read about those 3 heads in 2nd Ezra the 11th chapter. Anybody got that Revelation 6? That's cool. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 6. And I'm going to start at verse 4.
I'll read it for you, bro.
Okay.
Revelation 6 and 4, it says, "And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the
To
earth."
take peace from the earth. And that red horse represents Esau. All right. And Rome was a pivotal piece to take peace from the earth. Right. What we're about to read in 2nd Ezra 11 is what he did to take peace from the earth, what he was doing. Okay. You got it.
Another thing is when you read Revelation 12, Rome is noted as a red dragon.
That's right.
So you can tie that to that as well.
Absolutely.
And there's Noah's wrong because it was talking about Herod trying to devour Yahushua.
That's right. Con.
Right.
And Esau's red.
You don't wrong, yeah.
Hey, man, as you're speaking, that ties in the Romans with the Idumeans.
That's it.
Because who is the father of Herod? Antipater.
That's right.
Antipater,
Who got his way in by being a counsel for John Hyrcanus II.
That's right.
So that lets you know that Esau Edom wasn't done away with.
Absolutely.
They here?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
All right, it says, "And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and that there was given unto him a great sword."
A great sword. All right. To kill one another. And that's Esau's M.O.
There's another link
right.
to Esau's that sword. Yeah.
Hey, he wanted to kill Jacob. So if he wanted to kill Jacob, why not his seed want to kill each other? And that's the spirit that they were in. When you go into those emperors, even how Julius Caesar died. He died by Cassius and Brutus, was 2 of the closest people to him. And that whole stigma stuck, especially when we read about these 12 men. Okay. That was it on that precept. We can continue on. Actually, yeah, we can continue on. It's broke down the 12 feathers and such.
Reincarnation from Cain and murder.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, when you broke, you said Julius, Augustus, Tiberius,
Oh, yeah.
Caligula, Claudius, Nero, Galba, Ortho, Vitellius, Vespasian,
And Titus and Domitian.
Titus,
The water.
Domitian.
The water.
That's it?
Yep.
Titus, and Domitian. All right.
Mm-hmm. And
That's
Vespasian.
also go with Matthew 12 where it said divided when themselves a kingdom divided.
That's right.
Won't stand, because them dudes, these guys, these three in the middle, I think a couple of them killed by the Praetorian guards too. It was, it was Esau, man.
Yeah, Galba only ruled for 7 months.
7 months, right?
6, 7 months. Yeah.
And then Otho ruled for 3.
Yeah.
They were getting killed quick. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
One
quick
committed
time.
suicide.
The year before King.
That's right. A year of 4 kings. Imagine America. You got 4 presidents in 1 year.
You can see that.
Absolutely. Especially right now. Man. This is
The Roman
Rome.
Empire was collapsing too.
That's right.
That's the whole point. Like we mentioned, the dearth or the famine.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to when Augustus, he ruled for over 44 years.
Yep.
The longest,
He ruled the longest. That's right.
Shit went downhill.
Con, absolutely. Con, so we can continue in 2nd Ezra, the 11th chapter.
God. 2nd Ezra 11 and 2, it says, And I saw, and behold, she spread her wings over all the earth, and all the winds of the air blew on her, and were gathered together.
And those winds pretty much just represent the nations that were under their influence around that time. Rome ruled the whole known world around this time. Obviously, this part of the earth wasn't really, it was known about, but it wasn't nobody inhabiting it for real, except for the northern kingdom. But when you go into this, namely, it's talking about that whole realm of Asia Minor, parts of Africa and such, when it's going into that. And those nations were under that influence, the winds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 3, it says, And I beheld, and all of her feathers there grew other contrary feathers, and they became little feathers and small.
And it's going to expound on those contrary feathers the further we go into this lesson. That's why I'm not going to go into it heavy right now. Just for the lesson's sake, we can go and continue.
Verse 4, it says, But her heads were at rest. The head in the midst was greater than the other, yet rested it with the residue.
All right. Now, when you go into those 3 heads, and it's going to further expound on that later on in the chapter 2. So you had 12 feathers, 2 wings, 12 feathers, 3 heads. All right. Those 3 heads within themselves still go into those 12 feathers because you had Julius Caesar. All right. He represents that head in the middle. All right. And then you had Pompey and Crassus. And that's what's also called the first triumvirate. Okay. Now, when you go into the first triumvirate, I'm going to just read the definition. It says it was an informed alliance among 3 prominent politicians in the late Roman Republic. The constitution of the Roman Republic was a complex set of checks and balances designed to prevent a man from rising above the rest and creating a monarchy. And when you go into a monarchy, what that is, pretty much a monarchy is going into, let's say, for example, you have a king. The next person that's going to king is going to be the son of that king, the firstborn, and so forth. It goes into lineage. All right, because there was different kings in past that would use a monarchy for the next person to be in power.
Well, the word monarchy means rule by one. Archy meaning rule, and mono meaning one. Rule by one. And so the purpose of the triumvirate at that time, it was not it wasn't written down. It was an understanding that they said that they was going to have. And what you had was Julius Caesar was the leader of the armies. He was a military commander, while the other guys were more of political and economic leaders within Rome. And Julius went out and fought with his armies. He's very known as a people person. He was very charismatic. He rode with his soldiers. He slept with his soldiers. He wasn't uppity. He was very down to earth, and the soldiers loved him. And he took him into the expansion that you're reading about. When they first started to expand the Roman Empire, they took down the Gauls, which are known as in the area of France and Portugal and Spain and all those areas. And they kind of expanded and brought riches back to Rome. And with that, what Julius Caesar did was he made promises to the soldiers that they would have land, money. When you get back, when we come back, you're going to be eating. And he delivered. And so when he came back to Rome as a god and crashes in Pompeii, the other guys was like, yo, we said, this dude trying to become the emperor. He trying to create a monarchy. We gotta get this dude up out of here. So that's where you start to hear that's where you get the famous story of Et tu, Brute.
And
You too, Brutus?
You too, Brutus. Because he was the final guy to kind of stab him in his back to take him down. Yeah, so it was a conspiracy to take him out. Okay, but the him being the head of crashes in Pompeii was the fame that he got from his military conquest.
Wow.
Okay, that's how Julius. Go read about Julius. He was actually, you read about him. He was a G. He wasn't no whole ass nigga. You know.
Con.
Hey, Jaquan, that's why they got the check and balances concept here in this.
Yep,
government.
absolutely.
With
Yes,
the
sir.
Senate, you know what I'm saying? The House and all that.
Yeah, I got a precept. Yup.
That's exactly right.
And Maccabees?
Yup.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah,
That's the spirit,
yeah,
too.
That's the spirit, too.
Yeah.
This is First Maccabees 8 and 15. It says, moreover, how had they made for themselves a senate house, wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting always for the people, to the end they might be well ordered, and that they committed their government to one man every year to rule out a monarchy, pretty much, who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation amongst them.
Con, and that's a spirit too when you go into this, because America had adopted a lot of those customs anyway from those Romans, like we had mentioned earlier, and that shows you that your vote don't matter. Okay, that shows you your vote doesn't matter. It goes all the way back to them back then. They chose who was going to be elected as their ruler, and it still applies to the day. All right, what it is with that vote, just to make you feel good, make you feel like you did something.
False sense of freedom.
Absolutely.
And the Greeks were the beginning of this beast system. Anyway.
That's right. Con. Yep.
And what precept was that?
This was First Maccabees 8, and I started at 15. Pretty much that was the whole concept of voting leaders into power versus a monarchy, where a king, he just sets his son to be heir over the kingdom, you know?
That's right.
That concept started with the Romans.
That's right.
A monarchy?
Huh?
The monarchy started with the Romans?
No, the voting leader into power.
Oh, okay.
Versus the monarchy, where like a king, he would just, you already knew that if he had a son, that's who was going to be next to rule.
That's
But
it.
the Romans created the concept like checks and balances, to where the people, so-called people, vote the leader into power.
And that's
And
also
only for a certain term too. That's where they get the term from.
Con. And that's also another reason why they rose more quickly and had more structure than the other nations. Because there was times in history, we read about in the scriptures, where there was a prince that came up and being the heir, and he was a hoe ass nigga.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But Rome changed it, and they voted people in, even though they were hoe ass niggas. A lot of them was whack too.
Right.
But they voted him in for a reason, because of his influence, what he had done. And that's another reason why they were so strong. All right. And a lot of people, they couldn't just get overthrown like other nations, you know? And that's just loosely paraphrasing it, you know? But we can, if anybody has any other points with that, let's continue on to 2 Ezra 11.
Con. Continuing on, 2 Ezra 11.
Oh, I just wanted to make this point for the people that's listening. Type in First Triumvirate.
Yep.
First Triumvirate. Type that in and just read the first parts, and it'll talk about everything that we just said.
That's right. Con.
2 Ezra 11 and verse 4. It says, but her heads were at rest, and the head in the midst was greater than the other, yet rested it with the residue.
Julius Caesar was great, and it was acknowledged. We just literally went into that too. You know? Go ahead.
Con. Verse 5, moreover, I beheld, and lo, the eagle flew with her feathers and reigned upon earth, and over them that dwelt therein.
Those are the winds everywhere. You know, it had that influence over the whole known world around that time. Okay?
And they also had vassals.
That's right.
It was a beast system back then too.
Con.
This was the first beast system, and then America reiterated it through this system.
That's right. Con.
It says in verse 6, and I saw that all things under heaven were subject unto her, and no man spake against her. No, not one creature upon earth.
Right. They had that much influence. We just read earlier in Daniel chapter 7 that they were given, it was a beast having iron teeth, and they subdued the nations. Okay, now don't get it twisted. It wasn't like those vassals that the elder just mentioned didn't try to conspire to come up against them, but just know that it didn't work. You know what I'm saying? It did not work at all, because we just read about the influence that they had, the power that they had. You know, and also the brother just mentioned earlier as well, the Most High had gave them that power to subdue the nations. Okay, so there was people that fought up again, that tried, okay, but it didn't work. You know, they had to play their role in prophecy. Just as everybody has to play their role in prophecy. That's why Babylon the Great had took so long to gain stature, which is America. And now we're seeing its fall, because it had to fulfill a particular measure. One thing that we all have to remember is when there were particular kingdoms that was ruling, the Lord had done it. Okay, that's why, the scriptures also loosely paraphrasing goes into how the Most High set us up one king after another, a nation after another. You know, Daniel talks about how the Most High will raise up the bases of men. These are the Edomites. These are the bases of men right here. Okay, but the Most High allows particular nations to rule to fulfill the measurement. All right, he's very calculated. All this is written anyway. So they had to play their role in prophecy for us to be here to do what we're doing today. You know?
I got a precept.
Come.
This is Daniel chapter 2, verse 40. It says, the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. So,
yeah, even when you go into iron, bro, it is virtually, I ain't gonna say it's indestructible because it can break, you know, but iron has to be, when it's forged, it has to be forged in a very peculiar way, you know, so it won't be broken so easily.
Carbon.
You know what I'm saying?
It has to be,
Carbon as well.
It has to be forced with carbon in order to make steel. The iron does.
Okay. Con. The water. That's a bet. The spirit is brothers here today.
Well, that's what you had. You take the iron ore and you mix it and you create steel weapons. And one time that it was unmatched.
Yeah, that's right. Beautiful. You was about to say something too?
You pretty much broke it down. You said it already.
Okay. Con.
This is Second Esdras, back in Second Esdras chapter 11, in verse 7. It says, and I beheld, and lo, the eagle rose upon her talons, and spake to her feathers, saying, watch not all at once, sleep everyone in his own place, and watch by course.
Go ahead, next verse.
Verse 9. But let the heads be preserved for the last.
Preserved. The Most High preserved it. He had set them up for their times. When you go into the eagle speaking, and it's saying to the feathers, let everyone have its part at their particular time, that goes into all 12 couldn't rule at the same time. And earlier, went into all the different emperors and even the time spans that they had ruled. Okay, so the Most High had established certain ones to rule for this period of time, that period of time, this period of time, and so forth. Okay, so that's what it means when it says, like the brother just read, all right, it says, Salakia, what verse was that?
Verse 8. It says, verse 8, watch not all at once, sleep everyone in his own place.
Sleep everyone in his own place. All right, certain of them weren't weren't set up to be in power yet. Okay, Augustus had his particular time to rule. Tiberius had his set time to rule. Claudius and such. That's what that means when you go into that.
There's a progression.
That's right. Go ahead.
It says in verse 10, and I beheld, and lo, the voice went not out of her heads, but from the midst of her body. And I numbered her contrary feathers, and behold, there were 8 of them.
Now, when you read this ain't talking about 8 extra feathers on top of the 12. This 8 is talking about of the 12. All right. These contrary feathers were also mentioned early in the chapters, going into the small feathers. Okay. And all that's talking about is just the Roman rulers that didn't have, I don't want to say necessarily as much influence. All right. But they didn't rule as long as particular other ones. Okay. Go ahead.
It says, and I looked, verse 12, and I looked, and behold, on the right side there arose one feather, and reigned over all the earth.
And those were those particular rulers that ruled in their set order and arrangement. And the same followed with the left wing. The same order and arrangement the Most High had them set up to rule in. Go ahead.
It says, and reigned over all the earth, verse 13, and so it was, that when it rained, the end of it came, and the place thereof appeared no more. So the next following stood up and reigned and had a great time.
Had a great time.
That's talking about Julius.
That's talking about Augustus.
Well,
Verse 12 is talking about Julius. Yeah, that's that feather. And then Augustus, the water. Augustus had that great time. Out of all those 12 feathers, Augustus ruled the longest. There wasn't no other rulers that ruled half the time. The brother mentioned it earlier. Augustus ruled 40 to 41 years. All right, that was unheard of back then. You know, and a matter of fact, it's in Luke, the 1st chapter. We can get that really quick just to show, because the scriptures, people like to talk about how the Bible is a mystery, a fairy tale, a fable.
Right.
And they'll say that, none of this stuff really existed.
Right.
If that's the case, why was Augustus mentioned in the book of Luke?
All the world should be taxed.
Yep, exactly. And we can get it. This is in
on the coin,
Matter of fact, this is in Luke 2, Salakia. This is Luke 2:1. It says, and it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And when you read it in the NLT version, it says, and at that time, Roman Emperor Augustus decreed that a census should be taken throughout the Roman Empire. And that's another example that shows you that America is Rome as well, because America does the same exact thing. They do a census, and they've been very heavy on that census recently, making sure that who you are and where you need to be.
Why do you think so?
Okay, so that's another example that shows you this is Rome, but to show you that there is this Bible is the history book. All right, it's a book of many things, but one of its roles that it plays is a history book, and it goes throughout key pivotal points of history. Okay, so it's not a fable, it's not a mystery, no fairy tale, man. That's what they want you to believe, and that's why you're in the docile state that you're in right now, which is the spirit and Satan that's in you anyway. Okay, but the Bible is true. All right, and we're reading this in 2nd Ezra 11, by the way, man. A lot of people will say this isn't canon. They'll say it's not original. This goes in history, and when we read it, when we continue, not only does it go in history, but it wasn't by mistake where it said this second feather ruled longer than all the other ones. And Augustus just so happened to rule way longer than the other ones. Come on now, man.
Right.
This was written 400 years dang near before Julius Caesar was even born, before he was thought of. Okay? So this is very well indeed canon, man. All right? This book is faithful and true.
That's right.
Okay?
Written 4 times.
That's right.
Man.
That's right.
I just wanted to make a quick note. This is something that Apostle Gabar goes into as far as just how they used to take note of who was and who was there.
That's right.
And how to get the money. That's where you get the term calendar. The word calendar goes back to the word kalends back in ancient Rome. Is when they would announce the first day of the month so you could pay your debt, your taxes. That's where you get calendar from. Because it's all centered around that. And that's why they call it a calendar. That's why you get paid on what? The 1st and 15th. You get that from kalends.
Very interesting.
Which is Roman. And when you look it up, it says the kalends, it says, is the first day of every month in the Roman calendar. The English word calendar is derived from this word. The Romans called this first day of each month the kalends, signifying the start of a new lunar phase. On this day, the pontiffs would announce the number of days until the next month at the Curia Calibra. In addition, debtors had to pay off their debts on this day. And these debts were inscribed in the Calendria, effectively an accounting book.
Wow.
Damn.
Man, this is Rome 7.0.
Man.
Come on.
Image of the beast spoke.
That's right.
Spoke
It
and
was
lived.
like that.
It gave life to the beast.
He gave life to the beast. This is it.
Man, wow. Matter of fact, we need to continue that Daniel 7, right? There's a little more to it because it goes into what we're going into
Halfway
it.
through the verse.
Yeah.
I think verse 8 talks about about America. I think.
Little horn. Matter of fact, this yeah, we can just get this real quick because the elders and the brothers just spoke what they just said.
Daniel 7?
Daniel 7, yep, 7
Okay.
and 7.
Daniel 7 and 7. And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
Mm-hmm.
And I
So those
considered
vassals.
those
17.
vassal states, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they were diverse because we broke that down. They had the Senate, how they voted. It says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn.
Another little horn. All right. So that fourth beast is not talking about America, but that little horn is that. It's mentioned there. It snuck in there real quick, that quick jazz.
Right.
It shows you that that's America right there. Because they influence, that horn is nothing but part of that beast anyway.
It came out of the
It
beast.
came out of it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so Rome has that influence on America and why America does what they do today. All right. Very similar. Rome reincarnated.
And how you know that it's talking about America is because right after that, judgment comes.
That's
the
right.
Lord sets his judgment.
That's right.
And the end is going to come through Babylon, just being destroyed. It's just an extension of that fourth beast.
That's right.
You know, he brought it back to life. Started with the Renaissance period and ended all the way up to
Man.
Babylon the Great. You know what I'm saying? And they fully revitalized themselves with that beast system, you know.
Con.
Fatness of the earth.
That's right. You had a point, Mike Allah?
No, I was just standing up because I'm tired.
Oh, con. That was the main point on that in Daniel. We can jump back to that in 2nd Ezra.
Continuing on, 2nd Ezra chapter 11 and verse 14. It says, and it happened that when it rained, the end of it came also, like as the first, so that it appeared no more.
So Augustus, just like Julius' rule happened, and it was no more, Augustus ruled for them 40 to 44 years. After he ruled, it was no more. Then Tiberius came. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 15. Then came there a voice unto it, and it said, Hear thou that hast borne rule over the earth so long.
And this is still that second feather. Okay, this is still Augustus. Hear that bear rule over the earth so long. Imagine Donald Trump being president for 40 years. You know what I'm saying? Obama, like
120.
yeah, it's unheard of. You know, this is especially when it comes to this way of kings being brought into a system. All right, now monarchies were different, because again, it went into the air after that person died or was about to die. The next one be raised up. But for this to happen in this type of way was something that was strange. It's strange, okay, but it was also fresh as well. All right, go ahead.
Continuing on, it says, Hear thou that hast borne rule over the earth so long. This I say unto thee, before thou beginnest to appear no more. There shall none after thee attain unto thy time,
That's a DK.
neither unto the half thereof.
Not even half. And Tiberius was close, all right, to half. But it's still, if it wasn't half, it was right at pretty much dang near half. Okay, but Augustus ruled the longest out of all the 12 emperors of Rome, those 12 Caesars. Okay, go ahead.
Then arose the third, and reigned as the other before, and appeared no more also. Which that was
Tiberius.
That was Tiberius.
Okay.
And he ruled 23 years.
Okay.
Which pretty much shows you it was 44 to 45 years Augustus ruled anyway. All right, because that would be right at half or right under half. But it was 23 years that Tiberius ruled, and the other Roman emperors started ruling in smaller amount of times. Like Caligula only ruled for 5 years. Claudius ruled for 10. Nero ruled. He ruled for 14. And then you got the 4 emperors, and then it just goes from there. You know what I'm saying? So the Most High had them fighting one another, like we just read. And, it was a lot of grimy stuff that was going on with them. These are Edomites, and Edomites rule with the sword, and they're power hungry. They're known for stabbing their brother in the back.
They're a divided house.
That's a divided house. That's right, brother. The simple fact that we got to read about these 12 feathers, and 12 is a big number of them ruling in this time, shows how divided they are. And the inner fighting that was going on. And
its completion.
That's right. Okay.
It says, verse 19, So went it with all the residue, one after another, as that every one reigned, and then appeared no more.
They had their time like we read, and then it was done. Okay.
Then I beheld, and lo, in process of time, the feathers that followed stood up upon the right side, that they might rule also.
Okay, so those feathers at the left side had their time, all right, which were the first 6. Then the feathers on the other side had their time, which were the second 6, which again goes to 12. Okay, go ahead.
It says, and some of them ruled, but within a while they appeared no more.
Mm-hmm.
For some of them were set up, but ruled not.
Go ahead.
After this I looked, and behold, the 12 feathers appeared no more, nor the 2 little feathers.
And even those 2 little feathers are still within the 12. That's still part of that. Okay, again, when it goes in the contrary or little, it just means less significant as the other feathers. That's all it's talking about. It ain't like it was 2 extra feathers on top of the 12. And no, it's all embodied within the 12. Like I mentioned earlier, even these 3 heads are still part of those feathers when you go into the history of it. Okay.
Verse 23, and there was no more upon the eagle's body, but 3 heads that rested, and 6 little wings.
Okay, 3 heads that rested. All right, the 6 little wings are those contrary feathers on the other side. The 3 heads that rested, we mentioned earlier going into the first triumvirate with Julius Caesar and the other 2 men, Crassus and Pompey. That's right. Now, right here, when you go into these 3 heads that is about to mention, all right, this is going into the start, all right, of Vespasian, and then his 2 sons that was ruling afterwards, which were Titus and Domitian. All right, the Flavian dynasty. Okay, and when you go into that word Flavia or Flavius, okay, that word actually means blonde or yellow, which shows you that they are Edomites.
Like Herod.
All right, like, yeah.
Because the Lord said he looked like a fox, so he probably had like a like a light kind of tone.
He was like one of them yellow bone cats that had that. You know, Herod was he looked like a light skinned Jake.
Right.
But he was an Edomite.
Yeah.
You know?
And more so his characteristics. He had the characteristics of a fox.
Right.
You know, that was Amalek. That was those fake Jews all over.
Straight up.
You know, that and John, that's crazy. Our forefathers was cursing their asses out.
Gone. That's right. That's right. Man, matter of fact, I got that definition of Flavia.
That's heavy. Let's talk about Esau, man.
These are the Edomites.
Yep.
And the proof is that it's an eagle.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's very clear.
Yeah.
Prophetically, this ain't Japhet. Prophetically, this is Esau.
God.
When you go into it, I typed in Flavia, meaning of Flavia, and it says blonde, yellow hair.
Wow.
You know, goes into that. And there's also a book. There's a book that's called Madden's Jewish Coinage. All right, and it just goes into just history of coinage and other things that apply to ancient nations, not even just the Jews. But so what? Come. And when you go into that book, there's a particular page in that book, and it's titled the Princes of Edom, and it goes into different coins. And those coins, when you read it, it says the faces of Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. All right, and that's in a book called Madden's Jewish Coinage. All right, in that page, it calls Titus, Domitian, and Vespasian princes of Edom, which are another examples that show you that these are the Edomites. And just because we say blonde hair, blue eyed doesn't always mean that an Edomite has to necessarily have blonde hair, blue eyes. But that's one of their MOs. When you go into a so-called white person, you think blonde hair, blue eyed. Like when you watch that movie Ali, I ain't gonna pray no blonde hair, blue eyed Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately just goes back to Edom. Obviously, Edomites can have brown hair, brown eyes, whatever. But it goes back to the so-called Caucasian. All right, and that's the natural look that they have. Okay, the pure leper. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Yeah. Gone.
Yeah, that's it. That's the
Hey, Sean. It's
the picture.
In verse 22, the 2 little feathers, that's Titus and Domitian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Those 2 other feathers, Salakia. Those 2 other feathers are Galba and Othel.
Okay.
Very small because they had those small times.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But we can continue. We can continue where we left off.
Continuing on, 2nd Esdras chapter 11 and verse 24, it says, Then saw I also that 2 little feathers divided themselves from the 6, and remained under the head that was upon the right side, for the 4 continued in their place.
Mm-hmm.
And I beheld, and lo, The feathers that were under the wing thought to set up themselves and to have the rule. And I beheld, and lo, there was one set up, but shortly it appeared no more.
Shortly, Galba, Otho, Vitellius, Vespasian. Oh, you know, those first three. Very shortly. Again, I got it written down too. Galba was the one set up and only ruled 7 months. Otho was the second after Galba and only had rulership for 3 months.
Yeah,
All right.
I got you.
Come.
This is Flavian Dynasty in Wikipedia. It says the Flavian Dynasty ruled the Roman Empire between AD 69 and 96, encompassing the reigns of Vespasian and his 2 sons Titus and Domitian. The Flavians rose to power during the Civil War of 69, known as the Year of the 4 Emperors. After Galba and Otho died in quick succession, Vitellius became emperor in mid-69. His claim to the throne was quickly challenged by legions stationed in the eastern provinces, who declared their commander Vespasian emperor in his place. It says the second battle of Bedriacum tilted the balance decisively in favor of the Flavian forces, who entered Rome in December 20th. The following day, the Roman Senate officially declared Vespasian emperor of the Roman Empire, thus commencing the Flavian dynasty. Although the dynasty proved to be short-lived, several significant historic, economic, and military events took place during their reign, which is why prophecy is mentioning them.
Come. The water. Continuing on in verse.
I can read.
Okay, come.
And continue on in verse 26. It says, "And I beheld, and lo, there was one set up, but shortly it appeared no more." Verse 27. "And the second was sooner away than the first."
Sooner away than the first. Otho, 3 months. Go ahead.
"And I beheld, and lo, the two that remained thought also in themselves to reign."
Vitellius and Vespasian.
Yep. That's right. You see how it's lining up perfectly with prophecy?
Right.
Like, come on, bro. Can't tell me this book ain't just, there was regular people that just thought to just put this together. This is inspired by the Most High, man.
That's right.
Matter of fact, in Peter, just to pull this precept out, to bring this, to aid in the spirit of things.
Actual history book.
That's right. I believe it's in 1 Peter 1 and 20 or 2 Peter 1 and 20. They were moved through the, yeah, 2 Peter. Yep. This is the book of 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 20.
I got it.
It's all right here. That's cool. It says, "Knowing this first, that no prophecy of the scriptures is of any private interpretation." This is a prophecy we're reading about right now. It wasn't just a random person. William Shakespeare just wasn't in the cut putting this together, man. Okay.
Hey, yeah, come on, bro.
Yeah, right. Verse 21, "For the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man." This is an ancient prophecy that we're reading about. 400 years before it actually happened, by the way. It says, "For the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man, but holy men of the Most High spake as they were moved by the Holy Spirit." Okay, so when you read this is actually a conversation, Uriel was dealing with. The Most High was dealing with Ezra so much that not only did he send an angel down, he sent his archangel down to sup with him, which is Uriel, one of his holy angels. All right, and the Most High was feeding this information and using Uriel to feed this information to him. When you go into that word Uriel, Yawar Allah, that means light of the Most High. Okay, so the Most High was dealing with him, bro, just like the Lord's dealing with all of us. And we have very grave information that's been distilled within us to be able to receive these things, especially here within this day that we're in right now. Okay, a lot of people would desire to read this. You read this to a regular person, they ain't going to even want to know what it's talking about. They're not going to care, So we have to have a different spirit on us to not only want to learn this, but to understand this, So don't take this lightly. It's a very important thing that we're part of. We are men that are being moved by the Most High to be able to interpret these words and pour it out and distribute it. Okay? We've been given heavy lots. Be grateful for it.
Quick precept back here. Psalm 68 and 11. The Lord gave the word. Great was the company of those that published it.
And when you go into that word publish, it means to declare, like the gospel, to utter. Okay? And that light has been given unto us.
To make public.
Absolutely, to make public. And that's what we're doing on the highways and hedges, the lessons that we do. That's what the Spirit has been placed on us to do. That's our job. Okay? Just as you got your job to go to work or whatever your job is, this is our job that the God of heaven and earth, by the way, the omnipotent, had given unto us. Which shows us we ain't insignificant. We are very significant. God of heaven and earth, that created everything, gave you this top shelf knowledge and he gave it, to be responsible with. All right. And we could possibly be those future rulers, man. So we've been given something grave, man. We was going into it last week in your class, bro. That engrafted word. This is part of it, man. Okay. Go ahead.
Continuing on in verse 28, I'll read it again. And I beheld, and lo, the two that remained thought also in themselves to reign.
Mm-hmm.
And when they so thought, behold, there awaked one of the heads that were at rest.
Because you had those two feathers, which Vespasian was one of them. All right. But this is when he's rising up into power. And this is the start of that Flavian dynasty where those three heads had awakened. All right. To a degree, it was like the first triumvirate, except for the only difference was Titus and Domitian were his sons. But they were still all in that agreement with another, just like when you read about, the other ones we talked about.
Part of the same clique.
Absolutely.
Okay, so verse 29, you said is going into the Flavian dynasty?
Yeah, when you go into those three heads that's being reawakened, that's going into the Flavian, that's going into the start of the Flavian dynasty.
They led the siege of Jerusalem too.
They led the siege, and it's going to go into absolutely that beautiful, because it's going to go into that here in a second. All right.
And hell was being put on Jacob.
Man, absolutely. Absolutely.
The three heads that's in, what is that, 23rd verse, it's synonymous with the second triumph.
No. The second triumvirate was with Octavian, which is Julius, Augustus. All right, and Brutus and his name's the Lebanon, something like Lepus, I believe, something like that of that sort. Lepinus, that's his name. But that's the second triumvirate. This right here, these three heads, it isn't the second, but it's just like to a degree a reenactment of the first. You know what I'm saying? But no, it's not. It's not the second triumvirate.
Didn't you say?
I'm talking about the 29th verse.
Yeah, that's the Flavian dynasty.
That's the Flavian dynasty.
Mm-hmm. When you read it earlier in the chapter, going into those three heads, all right, that was the first triumvirate. And this is like, Vespasian came later on as a reincarnation of Julius Caesar.
Right, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Where you go into these three heads that had awakened right now.
Yeah, I got the old notes when we was.
It's all good. It's all good. The second triumvirate was literally right after the first. It was literally right when Augustus was in power.
Okay. Okay, so verse 30, it says, and then I saw that the other two heads were joined with it.
Titus and Domitian. Okay, go ahead.
It says, and behold, the head was turned with them that were with it, and it did eat up the two feathers under the wing that would have reigned.
Mm-hmm. There you go, Vespasian. All right, eating up the other ones. Bro, there was a lot of backstabbing that was going on between those Romans, those Edomites. That's why it was the year of the four emperors. They got in there and got out quick. Obviously other than Vespasian because he was the fourth, but also too the head. Go ahead.
So who was it that ate up the two feathers?
It was Vespasian.
Okay,
Because we're gonna read about the other heads that ate another one up.
It says, verse 32, but this head put the whole earth in fear, and bare rule in it over all those that dwelt upon the earth.
Yeah, this is going into the hell that they was putting on Jake as well. All right, the brother mentioned earlier, starting with 66 AD. All right, starting with 66 AD to 70 AD. All right, that's when you have the siege of Jerusalem. Okay, and that's also written in when you go into the writings of Flavius Josephus. Okay, he goes into that in grave detail when you read about that in that book. All right, it just wasn't quick. It took time. It took a few years to actually seize Jerusalem and go in there. All right, they had to cut off food supply, water supply, dig. They literally dug under. You know, it was a lot that they was doing. Okay, but they was putting the earth in hell, starting with us. You know, matter of fact,
Babylon the Timbo too, if I could say,
it
it brings that narrative out too, and it says names too, Vespasian and his son Titus, the Flavian dynasty. You know,
that's right.
From the Babylon the Timbo too.
Con. And just a few precepts. We're gonna bring this out in Luke 23, and then if somebody can hold Revelation 12, starting at 13, Baba Kashaw.
Luke 23 to 22.
Luke chapter 23, starting at verse 28.
All right, Luke chapter 23, verse 28.
Because Yahushua told Jake this. Okay, Yahushua told Jake that this was going to happen, and this is the time period where this event had transpired. This was well after Yahushua's crucifixion. You got it.
This is also in the curses too.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Luke 23 and 28. But Yahushua turning unto them said, Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves.
They was weeping for Yahushua when he was getting beat. He was carrying that stake with Simon up there. That's when they started weeping for him. And he's saying, don't weep for me, weep for yourself. Go ahead.
And for your children. For behold, the days are coming in the which they shall say, Blessed are the barren and the wombs that never bear.
So that shows you how severe this time period was during the Flavian dynasty. All right, because Jake was being starved out, eating children, doing all and above.
Eating their belts and shit.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
That's coming down.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
In the mountains.
It's coming. That's right, Mike Allah. It's coming all over again.
Right.
Now, Yahushua was talking about a lot of these prophecies there's duality involved in them. All right, you just got to be spiritual to be able to see it. That's why Ecclesiastes said there's no new thing under the sun. Okay, just as Jake caught hell around the time of Nebuchadnezzar, Jake caught hell around the time of Antiochus Epiphanes. When you read about that in Maccabees, Jake caught hell around the time of the Flavian dynasty. Jake is about to catch hell in the latter days during Jacob's trouble. And it's time that we in right now, man.
And their true intent is to get to that temple.
That's right.
And it took them a long ass time because Jerusalem is a defensed, it's fortified. It's city.
That's right.
It sits on a hill. It's like so. It took them a while. This time the defense city is going to be defended. You know what I'm saying? Because ultimately they knew if we got to take these people down, we got to get that temple.
That's right.
They knew. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful point. That's why they're going to try to put a mark. Namely, they want to get at the temple. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, because when that's gone, it's over.
It's over.
No way to sack a spiritual temple. You always talk about that.
Yeah.
We are the spiritual temple.
Absolutely.
That's why they're trying to attack us.
Absolutely. That's why they want to put a chip inside of you to defile that temple.
Defile the temple.
Just like even around that time period, I forgot what emperor that it was. I believe it was Caligula. He wanted to put his actual statue inside of the temple back before. You know, and there was actually conflict going on back then within that. There was even strife. You know, certain scholars will say there was even strife that was going on between the apostles for it. You know what I'm saying? But he wanted to put his own image within the temple, which he succeeded at that because it was physical anyway. Okay, but that's why they want to put that chip inside of you to do it all over again, just in a more dynamic fashion, dynamic and subtle at the same time to the carnal man. Go ahead, Tasha.
I got you. This is underneath Caligula under in the Encyclopedia Britannica. Going down, it says Caligula pursued his pretensions to divinity further. In the summer of 40 AD, he ordered his statue to be erected in the temple at Jerusalem, but under the suave persuasion of Herod Agrippa, Caligula countermanded this potentially disastrous order.
Okay.
The Roman populace had by now grown weary of this mad and unpredictable tyrant, and several conspiracies were formed against him. In January 41, 4 months after his return to Rome from Gaul, Caligula was murdered at the Palestine Games by Cassius Caharia, tribune of the Praetorian Guard. The Praetorian Guard was always used to hit niggas.
They hit
There's some good movies on the Praetorian Guard.
The water for that, because I got it mixed up with the image of jealousy that was in the temple where I said it was erected in there. That's what it was. The water for that.
And
Go ahead, Deshaun.
going into what you were going into about them when you put the mark in you, you know, there's a precept. I just can't remember it verbatim.
How does it go?
It says, "He that defileth the temple of the Most High, to him I shall truly destroy."
Okay.
You know, so that's them trying to force that mark.
Con.
You know, so con.
That's your pa. That's your pa. Beautiful. We can go back into this in 2 Ezra 11 unless you got a precept.
I was still. You just don't want one that Luke was at it.
Oh, yeah. Revelation 12 as well. That's right. That was pretty much it on that Luke, where they said they want the mountains to fall on us.
Okay, yeah, I haven't read that part yet.
Okay.
Yeah, Luke 23, and middle 29. Blessed are the barren and the wombs that never bear, and the paps which never gave suck. Then shall they begin to say to the mountains, fall on us, and to the hills, cover us.
Because a lot of people, especially, I'm going to say this, the people that aren't in the know, these regular, I should say, bystanders, they're going to bear witness to a lot of death. Like the prophecies go into, like the curses go into that the brother mentioned. They're going to eat their kids. They're going to go above and beyond to try to make sure that they're self-sufficient, self-satisfied. You know? That's why we going to have joy in that day where everybody else sorrows.
Right.
That's why the scriptures say, thy sorrow shall be turned to joy. When they are in sorrow, we're going to be in joy. All right? And it said, they shall be hungry, but my servants shall eat. Okay? Goes into how the elect are going to be taken care of around this time. Okay? That was it on that one right there. You got that in Revelation 12, right?
I got that.
Come on.
Verse 12.
And yeah, chapter 12.
Verse 13.
Starting at verse
15, earth help the woman.
13.
13.
Yeah, starting at verse 13.
Okay.
Right.
This is Revelation 12 and 13.
And Yahshua mentioned earlier, when you read about this dragon here in Revelation 12, it's talking about the Roman Empire. All right. And we read earlier in Daniel 7 that this little horn that came out of that beast is an extension of that Roman Empire, which is talking about America. So you're going to find little clues in here about America as well. But namely, it's going into the Roman Empire, which is that dragon. Okay. Go ahead.
Revelation 12 and 13. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child.
Persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. That woman is talking about Jerusalem. Okay? Talking about Jerusalem. And the man-child, namely, is talking about Yahushai. That's the man-child. Okay? Go ahead.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might flee into the wilderness.
Now, this is a different eagle. Okay? And those 2 wings are going pretty much just going into just the southern kingdom that fled into the mountains, that fled into Africa, the ones that were able to escape, by the way. And because not all Israel fled out. They didn't have the opportunity to. A lot of Israelites died. There was millions of Israelites that died under the Flavian dynasty. Those Israelites that were captured in 70 AD, all right, when they seized in there and taken it and went into the temple, sacked the temple, took all the gold, a lot of them were thrown into those gladiator pits and mauled by lions, mauled by champions, and they suffered heavy persecution even after that. Okay, it was millions of Israelites that died that were taken captive under those Edomites around that time. All right, so Jacob was catching holy hell around this time. Okay, and then those that were able to escape, all right, is which we're fruit from technically. Okay, because they went into Africa, dwelt there, traveled all the way south, 1,000 years, you know, and then later on, transatlantic slave trade.
Yep.
You know, go ahead.
Notice they were primarily in West Africa, right there. It's perfect for them ships to come.
Right.
All coastal, yeah.
Like, what were the odds of that?
Yeah.
Straight up.
But it makes sense because Israel's on the coast.
By that water.
You know,
Jake gonna be
Jake love to be by the water. But it's just dope how they were primarily in that area.
Right.
Easy for them to round them up and take them right.
Man.
I mean, port
port
cities were always the most popular places to be because of trade and being able to move goods to and forth. You know,
Oh, yeah. It's a
so
lot.
port cities all throughout the scriptures is the main cities that's mentioned because it's this epicenter of movement and finance and thereby policy and everything. So you didn't want to be too far from the water
Come.
because you literally isolating yourself from natural resources.
Straight
You
up.
know? So
Straight up.
when you read the scriptures, either you high up or you're by the water.
Come.
You know,
That's why Tyree was so popular.
100%.
Yep. They would ship those trees from the water.
Yeah.
Easy access to get right over there to where we was at, over there by Moriah. Man.
Everything was shipped. everything was moved. Needed to be by the water.
Come on.
I'll read 14 again.
Yeah, but
I didn't
sure.
finish this, Salakia.
Come on.
This is Revelation 12 and 14. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might flee into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time from the face of the serpent.
Yep, that's it. That goes into that period we were in Africa until we got taken again. You know, by those Edomites again.
Yup, that's good. Yup.
Uh-huh.
West Coast Africa, yup.
And also, too, in the midst of that time we were in Africa, you know, that's where that falling away happened as well. A lot of us lost our heritage. I mean, we were still practicing our customs and such, you know, but the further we got away from that land, the whacker we got, to the point we were taking captivity and completely lost our heritage pretty much, you know. So it's the Most High calculated all of that, man, you know. The water for that was pretty
What
much
verse
it,
was that you just read?
Verse 14.
Revelation 12 and 14.
Okay.
I got a precept. This is alluding to what you said, Sha'ar, about Israel in a time of the siege, which is going to be re-administered into today's time. And so this is a precept. This is 24, Matthew chapter 24, verse. I'll start at 15. And this is red letters, so this is Yahweh Shah speaking. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything of his house.
And that abomination of desolation always goes back to when they sacked the temple. Okay? When you go into it with Titus, really with Vespasian, they went into that temple and took everything out of it. You know, destroyed it utterly, literally, utterly. You know, that's why Yahweh Shai said, not one stone shall be left unturned. Okay? When you go into it right now, there's a wall that they pray to. It's called the Wailing Wall, you know, for Shekinah. You know, it's really those so-called Jews are humping it because it goes into a fertility deity, Shekinah. Even these churches will sing about Shekinah glory, Shekinah glory. That goes into a completely other idol, and that's Fort Antonia that they're praying to. Okay, that's not that. All right, but when you go into it, they went in there. All right, and later on, they'd actually built the Roman Colosseum. The Roman Colosseum, for those that might not know, was literally erected off of the money that they are the riches that they had taken from our temple, which shows you how much was in the temple. You know, they built that whole Colosseum. And also they had built what was called the Ark of Titus. All right, and the Ark of Titus was really orchestrated to be built by Domitian. Okay, but when you go into the images that's placed on an Ark of Titus, you got those Roman soldiers that are walking out carrying the golden candlestick. All right, that's you can see that when you look at an image of it. And that goes to them destroying the temple and taking all the riches out. Just like what Nebuchadnezzar did.
They have a replica of that in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. They sure do.
Man,
They sure do. Yep.
Downtown.
Mm-hmm. That's right. They
they
gloated about our downfall. You got that now.
one of the 7 wonders of the world is the Roman Colosseum, bro.
7 wonders of the world.
Because they're like, this is one of the great achievements of mankind.
Man, to take down Israel and to build off of their riches.
Man.
Yeah, man, that's heavy. God. We can jump back into that in that 2nd Ezra 11.
Kind
I think we left off at like verse 33, 34.
Yeah, I'll read 32. This is 2nd Ezra 11 and 32. It says, but this head put the whole earth in fear, and bare rule in it over all those that dwelt upon the earth with much oppression.
Mm-hmm.
And it had the governance of the world more than all the wings that had been.
Mm-hmm.
And after this I beheld, and lo,
My bad, more than the wings that had been. Flavian dynasty was doing a thing in wickedness.
Yeah.
You got it. I was going to
did
say
they have
that
like more territory at that time too?
more territory as well.
Yeah.
More people under him and more death.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. It was doing a lot, bro.
It says in verse 33, and after this I beheld, and lo, the head that was in the midst suddenly appeared no more, like as the wings.
At his time, he was gone.
But there remained 2 heads, which also in the sort ruled upon the earth, and over those that dwelt therein.
So that first head was Vespasian, and Vespasian died. All right, you can actually look this up for yourself. Vespasian, you watched the movie Life, where they was getting ready to get let loose, and he went to the bathroom and he ain't come back. He literally died on the shitter. That's how Vespasian died, dookie on himself. He died of immense diarrhea. One of his latter words when he died on the deathbed was like, "I believe I'm becoming a god." So excuse my French, but he died. He lasted until his shitty end.
His death was basically it's rumored that he died of like some stomach cancer. It's rumored that like someone poisoned him. There's multiple kind of like stories about how he actually died of the issue that he had. Whether it was some type of viral disease or whether he actually got poisoned, because when you read about Vespasian, because that was Titus's son, right?
Vespasian was the father.
The Vespasian was the father. There was a lot of just controversy going on in that time, and whether he was going to be accepted or not still was up in the air. He had his campaigns where Titus was fighting for him.
Yep.
That's right. Titus was the son fighting the Jews.
Right. Yep. Yes.
Fighting the Jews.
Yes.
And so there was a lot going on with that, So you'll get different accounts on how he died.
That's right.
Whether it was natural causes or whether he was actually poisoned. It's up in the air.
Yeah, that's right.
Nigga was bloated.
He bloated with dookie on his sheets.
Yeah, he was through.
All right, bro. Enough do.
Oh man.
Nigga was taking probiotics.
Man, he was hurt. He was hurt, bro. You think I'm becoming a god?
Verse 34. Okay. Second Esdras chapter 11, verse 34 says, "But there remained 2 heads, which also in the sort ruled upon the earth, and over those that dwelt therein. And I beheld, and lo, the head upon the right side devoured it that was upon the left side."
That's right. Them 2 heads were, again, Titus and Domitian. All right. Now, certain people will say that Titus, there's different theories that are out there of how Titus died. Certain people will say he died in a fire. Certain scholars believe that he was murdered. Certain people even believe that he was poisoned by his brother. That's what I believe happened, because the scriptures say that it was devoured.
It makes sense. It makes more sense.
Yes.
Poisoned him or something.
But all of these guys was just fighting, bro. The whole time it was just infighting.
Yep.
They were paying people off, trying to get positions the whole time. That's why they make so many movies about this era, because there's so much drama.
Yeah, straight up.
It's like constant drama, bro.
Yeah, straight up.
It says in verse 35,
Let me see if I can pull up Titus.
"And I beheld, and lo, the head upon the right side devoured it that was on the left side." Verse 36.
I got a quick precept. 2 Ezra 12 and 28. It says, "For the sword of one shall devour the other, but at the last he shall fall through the sword himself."
That's right.
All right, and that's going into those 2.
Yep.
When you read about the 12th chapter, it is a breakdown of the 11th, but it's not fundamentally. Well, it is fundamentally broken down. This is the more complex version of it, because we actually know who these people are. Okay.
It says in verse 36, it says, "Then I heard a voice which said unto me, Look before thee, and consider the thing that thou seest. And I beheld, and lo, as it were, a roaring lion chased out of the wood."
A roaring lion chased out of the wood. Okay, so this is after the brother Tashar pointed out earlier that this is a little snippet of America's judgment too. Okay, a lot of these prophecies have to do with duality. Generally, this is talking about Rome, but America is that little horn that came out of this dragon. Okay, so Yahweh Shai represents this lion that came out of the wood. Okay, and by the way, this is the only other reference, okay, that you read about, which also shows you the validity of the Apocrypha. Because when you go into the Lion of Judah written in Revelation 5, in the scriptures that we have today, without the Apocrypha, that's the only mention of Yahweh Shai being described as a lion. All right, other than this here in 2 Ezra 11 and 12. which again shows you the validity of the scriptures that we have right now, the Apocrypha. All right. This is the only other references Yahweh Shai being a lion here in 2nd Ezra 11 and 12. Okay. You can type in lion on the blue letter, and the only one that will refer to Yahweh Shai is Revelation 5. Okay.
So basically that lion coming out, chased out of the wood is Yahweh Shai.
That is Yahweh
That's
Shai.
Yahweh Shai. And he's returning to a Rome. He's returning to the second Rome.
Right.
That's right.
Because when you read Daniel 7th chapter, he comes right after that little horn rules.
That's right.
And speaks great things.
That's right.
That he goes in and out of different time frames, and how he even went into how they would wear us out. This fourth, that little horn wore us out.
Straight up.
That's where Yahweh Shai returns. When you look at prophecy,
That's right.
if you look at prophecy, it all ends through that little horn. That's where the Lord sends his son. When you read Daniel the 7th chapter.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's when Yahweh Shai returns through that little horn.
That's right.
After that little horn's rule,
Yeah.
which is proof that that's Esau.
Man.
Because the end of the world.
That's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother.
6, yo.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
Or 7.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I got a question though.
Come.
About this scripture, you said that about that lion. It's Jeremiah 4 and 7. The lion is coming up from the
Now that's
That's
talking
the
about
one.
Nebuchadnezzar.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
talking about
Nebuchadnezzar. Come.
Because when you read Daniel the 7th chapter, that beast is likened to a lion with wings on it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
You know the Syrian Babylonian Empire. Nebuchadnezzar was actually a Syrian.
He was a Syrian.
Yeah.
That's right. Come. I got a precept though too with just to show that lion right there is talking about Yahweh Shai. This is 2nd Ezra 12 and 31. And the lion whom thou sawest rising up out of the wood and roaring and speaking to the eagle and rebuking her for her unrighteousness with all the words which thou hast heard, this is the anointed which the highest hath kept for them and for their wickedness unto the end. Which shows you again that little horn right there is a miracle.
Right. Because we would be raised up too. The Lord would send the Holy Spirit down after that 3 days and a half, and we would go out and prophesy. That's also a part of that lion rebuking.
That's right.
We would be prophesying, man. We would be chanting this bitch down, standing in great boldness. So it's the Most High Yahweh Shai and the elect men who have the new song. They're gonna speak it into existence.
That's right.
That's right.
They're sent to be, to speak it. You know what I'm saying? But the Lord, Yahweh Shai, gave us the word here in this captivity.
That's right. That's
You
right.
said that was in 2nd Ezra 12 and what?
Yeah, 12:31, and I'm in the middle of 32.
Oh shit!
It says, "This is the anointed which the highest hath kept for them, and for their wickedness unto the end." He shot, because remember, he's rebuking that eagle, like the other said, which shows you that this is a reenactment of that eagle, pretty much. That's right. He shall reprove them and shall upbraid them with their cruelty.
Judah shall be in the neck of his enemies.
That's right. That's right.
Genesis 49 and 8.
Verse 33 says, "For he shall set them before him alive in judgment and shall rebuke them and correct them." Makes me think of in Proverbs, it goes to a cruel Lord, shall loosely paraphrase and rebuke them, which is talking about Yahweh Shai. All right. The Most High is coming with violence. He's coming with violence, man. Okay. He's coming with threats. Okay. It's a threat that we utter and rebuke, and these are threats, man.
Yeah, he's coming to devour.
That's right.
He made a promise.
That's right.
Because when you read Daniel 7, remember it just jumps to the Ancient of Days. That's the Most High setting his judgment, opening the books. And he's going to send Yahweh Shai to get them who are written in the book. But it says, one likened unto the Son of Man. Notice after that fourth beast, that's when he come. So this is that lion. That's this. But it starts here with us speaking it into existence.
That's right. Beautiful, man. Whew. I got chills.
Continue on, 2nd Ezra chapter 11, and I'll read verse 37 again. It says, "And I beheld, and lo, as it were, a roaring lion chased out of the wood. And I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle, and said, Hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, Art thou not it that remainest of the fourth beast?
The four beasts. Daniel 7 talks about the four beasts. So he's giving him the breakdown. He's expounding on him, this fourth beast. Daniel ain't even get that. You know, he just was told a fourth beast.
Right.
You know.
I mean, he went in a little bit, but not like this. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. He showed him a lot of what he would do. Daniel was actually fucked up by the vision. Right?
Yeah.
He was like, damn.
Yeah.
He would stick to his stomach.
Mm-hmm.
He was hurt. He saw, you know, the shit that was going, colors.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
He saw all this shit. TLC. He was like, oh no. He saw Jake
right
through.
Yeah.
Like he saw the beast ruling.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right, bro.
Chasing waterfalls. Whoa, damn.
What is this? The perm.
G-Rags.
Yeah. He seen Jake in he seen Jake in a low state.
Yeah. He saw this beast rule. He saw him drunken with the blood of the saints.
That's right. That's right.
Nice bird. Oh, wow.
Continuing on. In verse 39, art thou not it that remainest of the four beasts whom I made to reign in my world?
In my word.
That the end of their times might come through them?
That's it, man.
That's how you know this is talking about Esau, bro.
That's right.
Cause you gotta look at prophetically, bro. You gotta corner this nigga, bro. Obadiah, get Obadiah the last verse. I love making this point, bro. The last verse in Obadiah, bro. This is how you link Esau, the end of the world, to that fourth beast.
It's Obadiah, verse 21. And saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the Mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be Yahweh Bashem Yahushai.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's it. Yep.
So if you matching it up, this fourth beast got to be Esau,
right?
Because it's through his fall that the kingdom is going to be the Lord. The Lord is going to set up Yahweh's kingdom on earth.
Man. Yeah, and it tells you Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is
the beginning of it. The father.
So this can't be Japheth.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
The sign showed the Lord's on his way back soon, so it's got to be Esau.
Kind.
Keep going.
Yeah, we can keep going. I was looking for one in Joel, but it's all good. The point was made beautifully.
2nd Esdras chapter 11, verse 40.
Yep.
And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth, with which much wicked oppression.
You see, it said the whole compass because that little horn had to rule, and that was Babylon. That's where Esau had the fullness. North, south, east, west. His policy dominated. You know, the sword. He dominated with his sword through this America, the NATO, and the EU. They have control pretty much over North. So they got control of this bitch.
That's right.
Yeah. Because Rome, they had control of that known world, but it wasn't the whole compass of the earth.
Right.
So it was fulfilled. Esau's blessing was fulfilled through this beast system, this little season, you know.
It says,
verse 41. Oh,
I'm gonna finish verse 40. Yeah. It says, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit.
Yeah, lying wonders.
Yeah,
with all deceivableness, man. 2nd Ezra 2.
By deceit.
Yeah, yep. 2nd Thessalonians 2. That's him.
It's some shit, and it's deep. It's deeper than we even know. There's a lot of shit we think real ain't real, bro.
Yeah.
A lot of the history we know, like there's a lot of shit that was just him creating shit and just being a demon, bro.
Right.
He's a real motherfucking wizard, bro.
Yeah.
The devil.
He's a liar, bro.
Come.
It says, verse 41, for the earth hast thou not judged with truth.
There we go.
For thou hast afflicted the meek. Thou hast hurt the peaceable.
And he's getting this is that lion cursing out. This is what he's saying to him. You know, and basically this is what we're saying to him. Go ahead.
It says, thou hast loved liars and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and hast cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm.
I got a quick precept real quick. This is 2 Thessalonians 2:8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, that we were going to earlier, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Under that witchcraft that he's putting out there, you know.
Pseudoscience.
That's right.
What precept was that?
That was 2 Thessalonians 2, starting 8 and 11.
Okay, I had a precept too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, come.
This is Psalms chapter 55, verse 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So that's Esau's overall general mindset, is just to take over. You know, to use his sword to deceive, or to use his tongue to deceive, and use his sword to, while you turn around or while you trusting him and got a little sliver of hope that he's not going to kill you, thrust you through, man.
So rock the wheel.
Yep, that's right.
And that was Psalms what?
55 and 20.
Ric Flair spirit.
I got a precept.
Come.
This is Ecclesiastes chapter 13, verse 7. So verse 7, it says, and he will shame thee by his meats until he hath drawn thee dry twice or thrice. And at the last,
He gonna put you through that hamster wheel, man. He gonna work you to death.
Rat race.
Yep. Hey, you remember when Thomas Jefferson was president?
Man.
He was doing so much wickedness, bro. He had Jake working dang near literally all day and gave them like 3 hours of sleep. You know, constantly, bro, wringing us dry.
well, he did say that they didn't need rest.
Right.
They were free.
That was a common understanding of the Edomites back then. You know, that we didn't need rest. You know, we didn't show emotion. We were 3/5 of a human being. You know.
Well, just to finish it out, it says, and he will draw thee dry twice, even thrice, and at the last he will laugh thee to scorn afterward.
Man, tax you. You know, tell you that you the problem. Make America great again. You niggas is crazy. That's what he do, bro. Points the finger, bro.
It says, when he seeth thee, he will forsake thee and shake his head at thee.
Yeah, come.
Continuing on, 2nd Esdras chapter 11 in verse 43. Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty.
That's right. Go back to that Obadiah, the first chapter. You know, that pride, that pride is on fleek.
Yeah,
You know?
he took it there.
He took it there. Man. Revelation 11 talks about, Revelation 18 talks about his sins is reached all the way up to heaven.
That's right.
You know, man, the Lord has stored all of it. I mean, he got it written down anyway, but he literally set them up to be the perfect devil and is about to overthrow them in a way dramatic fashion.
That's right.
You know?
Verse 44, it says, the highest also hath looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled.
144. His
Right.
abominations are fulfilled, bro. The Most High will have them at that perfect time, right when they about to fill their belly. Then shall they be put in straits. Their abominations are fulfilled. And then, real quick, 2nd Ezra 15. That's cool. I got it right here.
I was holding it for you already.
Oh, that's the spirit. Come.
2nd Ezra 15, and I believe on 5. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled.
Hurtful works are fulfilled. Okay, that's that wickedness being fulfilled.
Through this bitch.
That's right. That's right. We at the end, man. Rejoice, bro.
According to prophecy, this got to be it.
This gotta be it, man.
In my opinion.
I believe so too.
Prophecy is the only way, man.
Yeah.
That's right.
Things not in a perfect.
There's no book on the planet that speaks about prophecy, so this got to be it.
That's right.
Doubt about it.
That's right, man. It's times we look at everything Esau's about to do, the guillotine, all the stuff that he's done, and it could be like, damn. But Revelation 18 says, rejoice, ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Lord hath avenged you. You know, we in the time of salvation. We ain't in the time of our destruction. We've been through that already, man. When you read in Ezekiel 35, it talks about the iniquity of Israel goes into being fulfilled. You know, it's the Lord is getting ready to take us home, bro.
Right.
We in the time of salvation right now, not in Jacob's trouble. You know, we shall be saved out of it.
Yeah. So when you look at this, for those of you that are listening, and we're talking about these things, one of the points that Elder Yashwamba made was the realization of how detrimental Esau's influence is on the earth. Not only to us as a people, us so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but to the Most High's creation in general. Because the creation of the Heavenly Father is precious. And we are set to dominate it, or rule over it in righteousness. And because of Esau's wickedness, the Heavenly Father's creation, something that is set to be eternal, like the seasons and plant life and life in general, is set to just reset itself over and over, just like your body. It's set to just be in an immortal state. Underneath Esau, it's dead. So we read this in 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter. You read this in Obadiah. You go to Isaiah, the 24th chapter, where it talks about how this person is ruling. You combine that with Isaiah, the 14th chapter, and what we read about in Revelation 18. You get a bigger picture of why the judgment that's coming on the planet Earth is so large and powerful.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that's what we're reading about. We're not just reading about an entity of Esau, this guy that's red and hairy. No, he's grown himself into this dragon, into this beast system. And we get a glimpse of that system as we read 2nd Ezra, the 11th chapter. Its scope, how policies is running all through it, how dynamic they ruling. When you go and actually look at the history of these 12 Caesars, you're going to be up all day. There's so much that happened. Right? And we're not even talking about the Greeks.
Right.
That mean, and the Romans make the Greeks look like a joke.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And the Greeks showed their head.
And the Greeks showed their whole ass.
That's right.
So, yeah, man, the Most High's got heavy judgment, you know?
That's right.
I have precepts back up. Revelation 11:18. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth.
Boom.
That's it.
He gonna get it.
Keep going in a second. Okay, 2nd Ezra chapter 11, verse 45, it says, And therefore appear no more, thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor thy malicious heads.
Hey, malicious means with insidious intentions, man. You know, with very wicked ideas and intentions, bro. Wickedness is finna be through, bro.
That's right.
Hey, that's why you read it in Proverbs 29th chapter. Goes into when transgression, when wicked is multiplied, also transgression. When the wicked are multiplied, you know. So yeah, when Esau got in power, man, showed his whole ass, and it's gonna take another being, a cosmic being from another dimension, to come and put an end to it, man. You know, the greatest story of all time. You got it.
It says, Nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body, that all the earth may be refreshed, and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her.
Talking about Israel, man. All right, so it's going to take Esau all the way from being a devil to fulfilling that role for the Most High to send his son Yahushua back, so we can have dominion on the earth, you know. But yeah, I mean, that unless anybody got any points or whatever. Cool. All right. Well, hey, look, that was 2nd Ezra, the 11th chapter. Lord's willing, it was edifying. Okay. Oh, and by the way, even I'm sorry, the other brother read it earlier, going into the 5 good emperors. After those four wicked rulers ruled after Domitian, you actually had emperors that ruled that were Israelites, starting with Nerva, you know, and that led on later on into what was called the Holy Roman Empire. Later on, with Constantine and them, was called the Byzantine Empire. But After that, that's when Jake pretty much started ruling ancient Rome as well, just as a footnote. You know what I'm saying? But that was pretty much it.
I got one real quick.
Con.
Psalms 85 and 11. Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. That's how Vashnav shines in the spirit look down upon us. That's why the truth is coming out.
That's right.
That's right, bro.
The only way out is. I don't see no other way.
That's right, bro.
That's it, brother.
Con. But Lord's will, it was edifying. We want to give all praise, honor, and glory to
Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash.
Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing and many salutations to you elect that are doing your lots, fulfilling your lots in righteousness all over the four corners of the earth. Shalom.
Shalom.